Welcome to Black and Gold Today Digital Edition, an in-depth look at your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Black and Gold Today Digital Edition. I'm Mike Fenner, joined by Ashley Kaiser and Kent Urbanski. We are talking about back-to-back wins for the Steelers as they head into week number 4. Pittsburgh coming off a 23-18 road win at the Las Vegas Raiders. Kent, you and I were there for a great football game there at Allegiant Stadium, an eventful trip, and hey, the first win for the Steelers at the Raiders since 1995.
Yeah, how crazy is that? And you know, it was the thing of most that struck me about that was it seemed like there were more Steeler fans at that game than there were in week 1 at home against the 49ers. It was a sea of yellow and black and gold, and it was fun to see.
A huge win for the Steelers in prime time. First road game of the year. Actually, they really responded well. I mean, came out, started off with a 23-7 lead. I know it got a little tight at the end of the game, but what can you say about the composure shown by the black and gold?
Yeah, I mean, I said they continued to stack. Like, Calvin Austin had that great opening play. I think that everyone fed off the energy from that one. Obviously, the crowd was going crazy. I mean, you guys were there, so you saw the fans in the terrible towels.
Right.
Seeing it aired on TV, for me, being back here, you could really tell. I mean, I couldn't even see Raiders fans, I swear. So I think that really helped, and, you know, they build off of that with the success throughout the game.
So the Steelers get it done on the road at the Raiders, and one of the big statistics, I think, in this one, guys, was the turnover battle. Pittsburgh comes up with 3 interceptions, and they sack the quarterback. The Raiders had not allowed a sack through the first couple of games there, and Jimmy Garoppolo was under duress all day. 4 sacks for the Pittsburgh defense, 3 takeaways, and then Pittsburgh didn't turn the ball over themselves. How important was that? Either one of you want to take away?
Yeah, it was the defense was relentless, and anyone that doesn't say that T.J. Watt doesn't impact a game and take over a game, that was evidence right there. He was Jimmy Garoppolo had him in his sights even before the ball was snapped. So you could tell that right away. But let's go back to that Calvin Austin play, which was a great play for Kenny Pickett, showing that he can throw the ball downfield. But how about Jaylen Warren picking up the block on that blitzing Max Crosby coming around? And that, if he doesn't pick that up, there's a possible sack there instead. So that was a great play for 3 players right there involved. So
no doubt.
But let's go back to that Steeler defense putting the pressure on, and I think they loosened that up a little bit and let the Raiders come back in. Toward the end of the game, it got a little tight there, but I was really shocked that they did not go for a touchdown instead kicked a field goal with like 2 minutes, 30 seconds left to go. I really questioned that call right there. All the Steelers really had to do was get the ball, or even take when they punted, take a delay a game and they run out the clock. So I was really shocked about that. So that little bit of tension that I had, wondering if the Raiders were going to pull a comeback, was gone when they made that decision. So I was like, again, shocked that they didn't go for a touchdown there.
I was surprised there in the end. It started to get a little close. Everybody was kind of biting their nails, like wondering what was going to happen. And especially for us back at the station, we're like watching and working. So we're, turning and checking the score every once in a while, and it's changing so much. I mean, what was it like to be there and see it happen in person? Yeah,
I mean, it was a great road atmosphere, and I'll say, even in hindsight, I actually thought, I was thinking kick the field goal and then try to get the ball back, but of course, you know, maybe in hindsight, the Raiders should have gone for it. So an interesting call there down the stretch. Obviously, Davante Adams, a huge threat at wide receiver. Went for almost 200 yards, had a touchdown there late that helped him out the comeback nearly for the Raiders. But the secondary making plays when they had to. How about Patrick Peterson with an interception, and then Levi Wallace with 2 picks, including on that final Raiders drive to end the threat. What can you say about the secondary? I know Minkah Fitzpatrick had 11 tackles as well. What do you guys think about just the back end of the defense? Kind of, obviously capitalizing on what the pressure was able to create.
Bend but don't break, right? Yeah. So, I mean, they did get the 3 picks, which is huge. Anytime you're turning the ball over and putting it back in possession of your offense, that's key to winning a game, especially on the road. You take the crowd out, even though the crowd was, to me, 60-40, maybe something like that, in favor of the Steelers. But yeah, they're going to need that each and every week, and they've been doing that each and every week, coming up with turnovers, quarterback sacks, quarterback pressures that are leading to giving more possession to the Steeler offense. So they're going to need that again going down to Houston this week.
And I feel like we said that Levi Wallace was our player of the week, but looking at the stats and everything, it was almost hard to pick one because so many players did so well this week that there wasn't one that was standing out, which is what, I mean, to have a successful game, successful team, have great players on all sides. I mean, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, no, plenty of great candidates for player of the week, and that's what will happen when you get a great performance like that on the road. But as Kent said, going back on the road this week to Houston Energy Stadium, Texans haven't won in this matchup against Pittsburgh since 2011, and Pittsburgh normally does well against the AFC South. That's the division that they're facing opposite of the North this year. So, guys, just initial thoughts. It's a young Houston Texans team. They had 2 of the first 3 picks in this year's NFL draft, obviously trading back up. They got C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State, and they got Will Anderson out of Alabama, a couple of impact players right away.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a similar situation. I'm not sure. I'm sure Steeler faithful is going to turn out down there again.
Yeah.
But in looking at their big victory against Jacksonville, there were a lot of reasons for that. I mean, I think when you have a fullback running 90 yards for a touchdown on a, was that a punt? It was a punt or a kickoff. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, that'll help.
I mean, that padded that score quite a bit. But looking at C.J. Stroud, he's a poised young guy, man. He looks really good. He can throw from the pocket. You saw him throw a deep ball. I think another rookie, Tank. What's Tank's last name?
Tank Dell.
Tank Dell. I mean, he had a big game. So. CJ doesn't seem to run a lot. I mean, I did, being down at Steeler practice this week, was, hearing Mike Tomlin talk to that Steeler defense about how mobile he can be, and they're going to have to, watch for that. But I didn't see him run a lot, maybe once or twice in that game. But he can move out. He doesn't have to stay in the pocket. He's pretty accurate with his passes. And they picked the middle of the field quite a bit in that game too. So Steelers have to be aware of that.
Well, and I think watching film is a super important aspect here because you have these new guys that have a lot of skill, but you don't have a lot of idea of how they play. I mean, you can look back at you can look back at college and stuff like that, but obviously it's changed a lot with their new team. And then of course they don't play the Texans very often, so to put up how they've done in the past, it's up in the air. So you're gonna have to look at the stats and prepare the best you can. But
yeah, Texans coming off that surprising by many experts' opinions win 37-17 at the Jacksonville Jaguars, the defending division champions in the AFC South. C.J. Stroud, 906 yards passing through 3 games. Only 2 quarterbacks in NFL history have more passing yards as a rookie in their first 3 starts through 3 games than C.J. Stroud. Pretty impressive stat there. And then Will Anderson out of Alabama had the block kick so far. So these are some guys, some young guys, that have a lot of talent. We'll see what they can do and put it together. They're trying to win their second in a row, but Pittsburgh's trying to make it 3 straight wins. I think this is a part of the schedule. You got to take advantage and stack some of these victories because you got this week with Houston, you got Baltimore at home, and then you go into a bye. So I think Pittsburgh's starting to feel a lot better about themselves, especially after that first week.
Right. Yeah. When you look at this game coming up, one of the key factors is there's been a lot of pressure on C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
He's got 2 starting tackles out in this game.
That's right.
Against 2 of the best edge rushers in the game.
Yeah.
It could get ugly real quick. I mean, if you look at that, if they get pressure and cause these turnovers and Steelers are up, real fast in this game, it could be a blowout in Steelers' favor, But like Ashley did mention, these guys are all professional football players. They're all good. And, anytime you go on a road in a home team's environment, it's hard to get to win. So, but I like their chances in this one. I think they can expose, watching the highlights from the Jacksonville game, it looks like the Steelers can expose that middle with tight ends quite a bit. So I think Houston tries to do a lot of things based off of their coach coming from San Francisco and what they like to do. I don't know that they have all the DeMeco Ryans. I don't know that they have the personnel that San Francisco does quite yet to match up. And I think the Steelers you're going to see a lot of Pat Freiermuth in this game.
We talk about the Steelers traveling really well. I mean, we did see T.J. Watt say in an interview that the Raiders game, it felt like a home game because there were so many Steelers fans there. So it does make a difference, being on the road and playing in another stadium with the other fans. But when you have that many people traveling to your away games, you have an upper hand in a sense. You said it was like a 60-40 turnout in this last game. I mean, what is it going to be, Baltimore?
They feed off of that for sure,
Yeah, no doubt about it.
If you watch T.J. Watt on the field, he was he was calling for it, and that place was getting loud. You know, fun atmosphere to be in. Great stadium out there, Legion
I'll tell you
Stadium.
what, yeah.
It was a really cool stadium.
Well, and Houston's going to be a lot closer than Las Vegas,
Right.
so
Well,
I mean,
I know,
more people turn out, but
Yeah,
I mean,
know
there's Steelers fans
there's a
everywhere.
lot of Steeler fans. Well, they're on their way. They're probably there now.
That's right, and they're all over the country. Let's face it, it's Steeler Nation all over the land. But hey, week number 4 coming up this Sunday, a 1 o'clock Eastern, noon Central local start for the Steelers and the Texans at Energy Stadium in Houston. We will break it all down next week, plus get you ready for Pittsburgh's return trip home to Acrisure Stadium as Pittsburgh will host the Baltimore Ravens. But hey, thanks so much for watching Black and Gold Today Digital Edition. For Kent Urbanski, Ashley Kaiser, Mike Fenner, and our entire team, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching. Join us again next week for another edition of Black and Gold Today Digital Edition.